Now, thanks to science. Come on, get gear up.
Oh, wow. Science is so amazing. The Kalos Queen. It's what I dream about. Really goofed at the show.
You don't have a clue how I feel.
Then tell me about it.
It's none of your business. Leave me alone.
Hey, before we get into this, I want you to think about someone in your life who believed in you. A mentor, a teacher, someone who saw potential when you didn't see it in yourself. There's something really special about that moment, when someone older, someone you respect, puts their faith in you. In Pokemon, that person is Professor Oak. He's the grandfather figure, the wise old guy with the lab and the cutting-edge research and the gentle smile. We all kind of love him, right? He's the guy who gives you your first Pokemon. He's got that calm voice in Pokemon Center healing your team. He's iconic. But I want to talk about something that's been bothering me for years, and I think once you see it, you can't unsee it. Professor Oak isn't evil in a cartoonish way. He's not trying to take over the world or turn Pokemon into weapons. But his behavior, the way he uses the people around him, especially the people he's supposed to be mentoring, that's genuinely messed up. And it gets worse the more you actually look at it. So here's the thing. Oak's whole life goal is to create a complete Pokedex, a comprehensive guide to every single Pokemon species in the world. That's a genuinely cool dream. Knowledge, documentation, advancing science, I'm here for it. But Oak's too old. He literally tells you this. He looks at you, an 11-year-old kid who just got your first Pokemon like an hour ago, and he's like, to make a complete guide on all the Pokemon in the world. That was my dream, but I'm too old. I can't do it. So I want you two to fulfill my dream for me. And you know what? You just go. You accept. And yeah, I get it. It feels like an honor. He's delegating his life's work to you. You matter. But let's break down what he's actually asking here. He's asking a child to travel across an entire region, alone, catching dangerous creatures in the wild, with nothing but a Pokedex and a dream that isn't even theirs. And he never, not once, mentions anything about your safety. He doesn't warn you about the hostile trainers on every single route. He doesn't mention Team Rocket, which is literally a criminal organization operating in the region. He doesn't even acknowledge the environmental hazards. He just sends you out with a baby Pokemon and a Pokedex and tells you to go make his dream come true. Compare that to Professor Rowan in the Sinnoh region. When you're walking around, Rowan actually scolds you if you go into tall grass without a Pokemon. He's actively concerned about your physical safety. He checks in on you. He's mentoring you in a way that feels like he actually cares about you as a person, not just as a tool for his research. But Oak's dream comes first. The Pokedex comes first. You're just the vehicle. And here's where it gets darker. Oak has a national Pokedex. He's the only one with the complete information. He's created a monopoly on knowledge. Every single player character, every trainer, is working to give him data that he controls. You're gathering information, and he's the gatekeeper. He's the only one who knows everything. That's power. That's real, concrete power over everyone in your region. But I want to talk about his grandson, Blue, or Gary, depending on how old you are and which games you played. Because the way Oak treats Gary is actually heartbreaking when you really think about it. Oak literally forgets his own grandson's name. I've forgotten his name. That's not cute. That's not a funny absent-minded professor thing. That's a guy who has internalized his relationship to his family as secondary to his work. Gary's not important enough to remember. The research is important. The Pokedex is important. But his own grandson? Meh. And it gets worse. When you beat Gary in the Pokemon League, when he loses the championship, Oak shows up and he doesn't comfort him. He doesn't say, "Hey, you fought hard, I'm proud of you anyway." No, he berates him. He says, "Blue, I'm disappointed. You forgot to treat your Pokemon with trust and love." This is in Fire Red and Leaf Green and it's brutal. The kid just lost his dream in front of everyone, and his grandfather, the closest thing he has to a parent in these games, shows up to tell him he failed. Not just that he lost, but that he's morally inferior for how he battles. He treated his Pokemon wrong. And then, in the Gold and Silver remake, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, what does Oak do? The player, a complete stranger, comes to him, and Oak gives them a Kanto starter, a powerful, rare Pokemon. But Gary? Gary's the gym leader of Viridian City now. That's where Oak puts him. Not as a champion, not as someone moving forward. He's stuck in a gym, essentially trapped in Kanto. And that power dynamic never changes. Oak never really lets him be his own person. Well, I mean, think about the bigger picture here. Oak was once a battler. He was tough. He was competitive. Agatha, one of the Elite Four, she says this straight up. Oak, he was once tough and handsome. That was decades ago. Now he just wants to fiddle with his Pokedex. She's saying, and this is important, that Oak traded his actual passion for a different kind of power. He stopped battling. He stopped competing. But he didn't stop wanting control. He just shifted it. Now instead of winning battles, he wins by controlling information. He wins by controlling who has access to what. He wins by making children do the work he's too proud or too lazy or too old to do himself. And look at his actual position of authority. Oak is the Pokedex vetting officer. That means he's the gatekeeper to the Pokemon League. You can't access Indigo Plateau. You can't even try to challenge the Elite Four until Oak says you're ready, until he checks your Pokedex and deems you acceptable. That's not just a job. That's structural power. That's a dude who can literally prevent you from pursuing your dreams if he decides you haven't documented enough Pokemon. He's the final authority on whether you're worthy. Here's the thing that really gets me though. Oak can absolutely restrict children from danger when he wants to. In the Gold and Silver games, he blocks access to Mount Silver, a dangerous, storm-racked mountain, until you have 16 badges. 16. That's the entire badge requirement for the Pokemon League. He's saying, I know this place is too dangerous for you at your current level, so I'm not letting you go. That's a reasonable call. That's him exercising his authority as the adult in the room to protect a kid. But then, at the exact same time, he sends you into tall grass at level 5 with a baby Pokemon. He lets you wander into areas with hostile trainers, criminal organizations, environmental hazards, and wild Pokemon that could straight up kill you. The inconsistency isn't a character flaw. It's not an oversight. It's a choice. He restricts danger when it interferes with his authority structure. When it doesn't, he lets you walk into it. And we need to talk about what Oak actually knows, because he has documented the Pokedex. All of those entries, the dangerous, horrifying entries, those aren't mistakes. They're not exaggerations. Oak wrote them. He supervised them. In Fire Red and Leaf Green, the entry for Hypno says, there was an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized, not a hypothetical. An incident. A documented case where this Pokemon kidnapped a child, and Oak knows this. He's read his own Pokedex. In Generation 4, Drifloon's entry is even worse. Any child who mistakes Drifloon for a balloon could wind up missing. That's Oak's official documentation, and he still sends you out to catch these things. Primeape? It will wildly chase anyone who meets its eye. He knows. He knows what these creatures are capable of, and he sends you anyway. But here's something most people don't know about. In the code of Pokemon Red and Blue, the original games, there's an unused battle. A battle programmed into the game that was never actually used. It's a battle against Professor Oak. And Oak's team? Level 66 to 70 Pokemon. This isn't a normal Professor team. This is a championship level team. This is the team of someone who could absolutely crush you. It's coded right there in the game. You can actually extract it and see it. So somewhere in the development process, someone at Game Freak thought about this. They thought about Oak as your final opponent. They thought about you growing throughout your journey only to face off against the person who sent you out in the first place. The code is still there. The idea of Oak as a final challenge, a final test, even a final betrayal. That's not a fan theory. That's right there in the game files. I mean, think about what's actually happening from Oak's perspective. You're out there, constantly moving, constantly generating data about Pokemon. You're walking through caves and oceans and mountains. You're encountering creatures that most people never see. And you're reporting back to him. You're feeding his database. You're building his research empire. And while you're doing that, you're also drawing attention. You're battling trainers. You're engaging with Team Rocket directly. You're becoming famous. You're becoming visible. And Oak, he stays in his lab, safe, comfortable, using your notoriety as cover for his own work. By making you the hero, by making you the famous trainer, he creates a lightning rod. He creates a distraction. While Team Rocket is chasing you, Oak can research unbothered. While everyone's watching you, nobody's watching him. There's a parallel here that I think is worth sitting with for a second. In academic research, there's this thing called the principal investigator model. A senior researcher, the PI, designs a study. But they don't do the actual work. The grad students do the work. The grad students spend their 20s running experiments, collecting data, writing papers, dealing with failures and setbacks. And then the PI puts their name on the paper first. They get the prestige, they get the grants, they get the recognition. The grad student gets a line on their CV and a crushing amount of student debt. Oak is the PI. You're the grad student. He designed the Pokedex project. But you're the one traveling across the region. You're the one in danger, you're the one doing the actual work, and he's the one who gets to be known as the Pokedex guy. He's the authority, the researcher, the mentor. You're just his asset. But wait, there's even more to this. Oak's created a surveillance network. That's what the Pokedex really is. An army of children with devices that track Pokemon sightings, that document encounters, that feed back to a central database. Every time you catch a Pokemon and you're out in the wild, somewhere Oak's lab is updated. He knows where you are in a sense. He knows what you're catching. He knows what you're discovering. And it's not just you. There are other trainers, other kids with Pokedexes, all of them reporting back to him. He's built a network of children that systematically document every aspect of the region's ecosystem. And he controls all that data. He's the hub. And look, I want to be clear about something here. I don't think Oak is sitting in his lab plotting to be evil. I don't think he's a villain in a traditional sense. He's not trying to take over the world. He's not trying to hurt people. But he is someone who has leveraged his position of authority and respect to get what he wants, and he's done it by using younger people. He's taken his inability or unwillingness to do the work himself and turned it into a reason to make children take risks. He's built his entire reputation on delegating his ambitions to others. And when those kids don't live up to his expectations, when they lose, when they don't battle with enough trust and love, he lets them know they've failed him. He's the disappointed mentor, the disappointed grandfather, and that's a form of control that's actually harder to fight against than outright cruelty. Because Oak seems nice, he seems wise, he seems supportive. He's the guy who heals your Pokemon. He's the guy with the knowing smile and the gentle guidance, and that makes the exploitation harder to see. That makes it easier to accept, because you want to be worthy of his faith in you. You want to be the person who accomplishes his dream. You want to make him proud. That's what good mentorship is supposed to feel like. But there's a difference between pushing someone to be better and pushing someone to fulfill your own unfulfilled ambitions while you maintain control over them. There's a difference between mentorship and manipulation. Here's what I think about though. And this is where we zoom out a little bit. All of this is really about something bigger than just Professor Oak, right? It's about the nature of mentorship and power and how easily those things can get twisted. In real life, we have people in positions of authority over us. Teachers, coaches, parents, bosses, professors, and most of them are genuinely good people who want to help. But there's always an inherent imbalance. There's always a power dynamic, and it's easy for that power to be used in ways that benefit the person in charge without them even realizing it, or maybe without them even caring. It's easy to convince yourself that you're doing someone a favor by giving them a chance to do something dangerous. It's easy to tell yourself that they should be grateful. It's easy to make your ambitions their responsibility. And I think the reason Oak's story matters, the reason it's worth thinking about, is because it reminds us to look more carefully at the people we respect. Not in a paranoid way, not in a cynical way, but in a real way. It's okay to question whether the people guiding you are guiding you towards something that's genuinely good for you, or something that's convenient for them. It's okay to notice when your mentor's dream becomes your responsibility. It's okay to wonder if the person telling you how proud they are of you is actually proud, or if they're just measuring you against their own unmet expectations. And if you're in a position of authority, if you're a mentor or a leader or someone that younger people look up to, this is a reminder to check yourself. Is what I'm asking people to do something I've decided they should do, or is it something I want them to do for me? Professor Oak is Pokemon's biggest villain not because he's evil, but because he's too human. He's flawed in all the ways that real authority figures are flawed. And sometimes, that's the most dangerous kind of villain there is.